It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so today we have inside the studio. We're going to have a special guest in the studio. We got someone we're trying to get connected with on Skype. We're going to talk about Afghanistan. I want to talk about what's happening there. I want to talk about what's happening with our Second Amendment rights. I want to talk about, Afghanistan. Here we are. We have gone to Afghanistan. We decide to go into another country, and we have totally taken over this country, which means that we are going to be responsible what happens after this. Once you go move into someone else's country, you overtake that country, you're going to be responsible in setting up a government. You're responsible for setting up the military and making sure they're able to sustain themselves without you. But before you leave, you have to make sure that this country is self-sustainable. You got to give them support before you leave. Anyone with common sense knows this. So if me, I'm just a business owner. I don't know anything. If I was to go, overtake someone's business and decide to pull away from that business, I want to make sure that they're able to, stand on their own 2 feet. And if something does happen, I'm able to move in and give them support so they can make sure they can stand on 2 feet. So when I translate this to a military terminology, if I'm going to go into Afghanistan and I'm going to pull people who are from that country into our military as, like, for example, our interpreters, support people, eventually make them U.S. citizens, then, if to do this, I'm going to need those people to make sure that they're able to help me, continue this on down the road. Well, here we are. We've jumped into Afghanistan. We've taken over this country. We've now pulled out. You have factions, whatever you want to call them, insurgents, whatever you want to say. I don't know what name you want to use, because I don't know the proper name to use. But they have toppled over that government that we set up. If I'm going to be in that type of situation, I'm going to give that military some type of air support. You got to give them some type of support in case something was to happen. So here we are in a situation where, we have this President Joe Biden, has said that, here we are in the United States. We're going to make sure that you as citizens of the United States, you can't have AR-15s, you can't have AK-47s. You know why? Because AR-15, you don't need that, because the AR-15, AK-47, you can't defend yourself against a military, with those type of firearms. Well, this has been proven to be not true, and we've seen this week, because in 5 days, you have a large group of people have overtaken a country in 5 days by using AR-15s, AK-47, and we have literally, the United States has given them billions of dollars in equipment, given it to them, because they took over, jumped in with an AR-15, AK-47. Now they have helicopters, they have Humvees, they have everything, grenades, everything, and the only thing they used was the AR-15, the AK-47 to do it. They did it in 5 days. So don't ever tell me that my AR-15, my AK-47, with that, I cannot defend myself. Because what I do know for a fact is, in the United States of America, no other country, no entity is going to step foot on this mainland of the United States. They're not going to overtake us. Because you know why? Because we have so many rifles, so many handguns, we have so much artillery. I have so many rounds of ammunition in my home. There's no way you're going to do that. No way whatsoever. We're talking Blackhawks. We're talking, oh my goodness, this is just insane. This is a disgrace. This administration should be ashamed of themselves. There's no way in the world I would allow. I just, you have to be in the military to really understand this. When it comes to accountability, when it comes to making sure that you have, all the equipment you're supposed to have, this is a really big deal. You can't let, one night vision goggle go missing. You can't let one rifle disappear. It's very serious. And this is not being talked about. This president is a disgrace. This is a disgrace. We have allowed billions of dollars of U.S. military equipment in the hands of terrorists. Literally. We don't know where this equipment is. We haven't made any plans to go get it. If I was the president, I would send a division or two to secure this country and get our equipment back immediately. Immediately. We've just left people just hung dry, abandoned them. We have American citizens that are sitting over there trying to get out of this country, and we are doing nothing. No one's doing anything to help these citizens. American citizens. And even if they're not Americans, guess what? They are people that we hired, we brought to our side to help us do what we need to do in that country. And now their lives are at stake because they're helping us. And we've left them high and dry, abandoning them, and no one's paying attention. If this was President Trump, if this was someone else, the media would be all over this. But they're ignoring this. I'm frustrated. And this is not even my, I'm just totally frustrated. I can't imagine what is happening. But we do have someone, hopefully we can connect with this guy who's an interpreter for the United States Army, who was stationed in Afghanistan, one of the U.S. Army interpreters. He's going to come on the show if we can get him on Skype to talk about what's happening because his family is there. And you need to hear this story. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings, because you're not.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about Afghanistan. And this is really not the cup of tea that we discuss here on the show. We usually talk firearms, but I guess this is firearms because we're talking about Black Hawks. We're talking about drones. We're talking about billions of dollars that's been, given away to the Taliban soldiers, Taliban fighters in Afghanistan, a country that we took over. We're responsible for these people. This country was dependent on us to help them to be sustainable because we went over to Afghanistan. We've been there for years. I don't want to say decade. Has it been a decade yet? I think it's been a decade. Two decades. Okay, we've been in Afghanistan 2 decades, and now we're responsible for this. This is our responsibility. No one else's. And the world is watching. And this president is making a fool of us. And I usually don't get into stuff like this. I don't pick sides, Republican, Democrat, when it comes to, national politics like this. I only stick to the Second Amendment when it comes to firearms. This is a disgrace, people, because we're talking billions of dollars. We're talking about a president that stood up and said, you don't need an AR-15, you don't need an AK-47 because, you know why? Because what are you going to do with it? You don't need a weapon of war. You can't defend yourself against another military with that. They have missiles. Well, you know what? That's wrong, because in 5 days, the Taliban soldiers with AR-15s, AK-47s, they actually got billions of dollars in equipment from the United States government. It was given to them, billions of dollars of equipment. And we're talking, and let's break it down a little bit. What exactly did they get? 7,000 machine guns, 4,700 Humvees, 20,000 grenades. We're talking drones. We're talking Black Hawks. We're talking...
Yeah, let's not forget about the A-29 Super Tucano light attack aircraft and the MD-530F light military helicopter.
and gone. This is a disgrace.
They got MRAPs as well.
This is an emergency. You know what? If I was sitting in the Situation Room, I would say, oh my goodness, the 82nd Airborne Division, I need the entire division on the tarmac right now, on its way to Afghanistan to secure this equipment. Because this is going to wind up in the hands of who knows who.
Or at least blow it up, right?
This is going to be equipment that's going to be used against American soldiers down the road. I guarantee it. This president is going to cost the lives of your father, your brother, your uncle, your sister, your mother with equipment from the United States government.
Or maybe your son, right?
Your son, your daughter from the United States government, your aunt, your uncle, everyone, it's going to cost their lives. But you know what? I have on Skype. I got someone on Skype that's going to talk to us about what exactly is happening there on the ground. And I want to reach out to, and I'm going to say this, and I hope we're probably going to get blocked for saying this on Facebook. But I'm going to reach out to Alex Jones. I'm going to reach out to all my local news outlets around the country, because I need for them to know what's going on in Afghanistan. I need for them to talk about this and get this young man, on the show, because his family is stuck. He's And you know what? And with I tell you what, without further ado, let me bring into the show. Um, gotta have. Is it Kosh? I'm sorry. What's your first name?
Um, like Hashmatullah?
Hosh.
Yes, Hash.
Hosh. Okay, there we go. All right, so Hosh, welcome to Come and Talk It, sir. Tell us what's going on. Tell us your situation first. How did you become a U.S. citizen?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm a former interpreter in Afghanistan, and I work with U.S. forces in the country, supporting this great country, America, for 7 years, and hope that one day me and my family will go to the United States and will become U.S. citizens. I did became a U.S. citizen, and I'm living here, and I have been trying for the last 8 years to see if I can get my family here with the immigration. Been in contact, but every time I get the same response, which is just wait. Your process is under review, and finally we are in this situation right now. I was in contact with the help of some of my friends, some of my American friends that we used to work together back home, back there. So yeah, they send me a pass for my family and say that I can take my family to the airport. So I gathered my family, my wife and my children's, and they went to the airport in the chaos, in all that crowd, past all those human, like couple thousand human walls to get to the door. It took them like 2 days just to get to the door, the airport door, the gate. So it took them 2 days. After 2 days, all the proper documentations in hand, they went in, they got in, and it took them another 4 days to wait so that they can get to the terminal, so that they can get to the plane. And finally, last night, they got close to the terminal where there is some Marine soldiers standing out there and helping people, like, and they were told to see if they have American passports and green cards, which they don't, and they're just a family of U.S. citizen. So they say that they have only the documents were issued by the U.S. Embassy, which is the pass, and there's a visa kind of thing, which does not have a name or a serial number in there. So basically, everyone's holding the same thing in their hands, and the pass. So they do have the proper documentations in the hand to get through, and that's how they got in. And that's where they were told if they are SIV, and they say yes. And they said, okay, if you're SIV, you get on this line. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have passport, and you have a green card, you get on this line. So since they did not have the U.S. passport and the green card, they got on the SIV line. And just after a couple minutes, they got walked to the gate and make them to go home. So they're in home in this tough situation right now. I'm so much in concern for their safety, for their security, what's going to happen. Hopefully something will come up.
I know you've been working all day, and it's nighttime right now in Kabul. Is that correct?
It's actually nighttime right now, yes, and I actually have been so much in concern about my family. I haven't been to work for the last couple of days and trying to be in contact with them to see if I can like beg someone out there for the last 4 days. I was just doing the same thing to see if I can beg or ask one of those Marine soldiers where my family are, to provide at least a bottle of water to my family, because my young daughter, she's like 3 years old. she's been without the water and food for 2 days, and they were told, I think on the what is like 2 days ago, that if you want to go home, go home. If not, you can stay here, but you will be without water and food for the next 2 more days. And how can a little child that is like 3 years old, that's what I'm talking to you is exactly, I'm not making anything. It's exactly what is going on, what happened to my family. And this was really, I was doing everything as a father to see if I can find a bottle of water to my daughter, because I could not see my daughter to pass, like she was getting unconscious. I could not see my daughter to pass without, like, to die for not having water. Okay, I heard that we can live for 5 days without food, but water, that's our main need. That's what we are built from. So this was like, after all that struggle, no water, no food for a couple of days, like 6 days, and then finally they were sent home. I'm so much in concern. I don't know what to do.
And so currently, right now, they're actually at the airport, and they're just waiting, trying to get out.
No, sir. Currently, right now, they are at home.
They're back home. Okay.
They're back home. They were sent home because they do not have the passport, or you can say the green card, or
the visa.
Or the visa.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't have a visa to get out, so therefore they can't get on a plane to the U.S.
But they do have they don't have the visa which I received at the beginning of my journey, which was issued to me from the U.S. Embassy, which has my name and there's a serial number and everything, that I made my journey to the U.S. They don't have exactly that visa. What they have is a piece of paper which just says a U.S. visa, and it does not say any name on there, anything. So that's something that they have. So they have that. They have the pass, which was issued from the U.S. Embassy. They have the valid passport, all the valid documents.
All right, hold on there, Hash. We're talking with Hash. He's an Afghanistan interpreter for the United States Army, and we're talking about Afghanistan. We're talking about Kabul. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hi, this is Stephen Williford, the Barefoot Defender. I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All All right, we're talking about Afghanistan. We're talking about what's going on right now in Kabul at the airport. We're talking about Hamad Karzai International Airport. We're talking with Hash. He's an interpreter for the United States. Was an interpreter for the United States Army. He's now living here in Austin, Texas, and he's a U.S. citizen. And he has his daughter. He has his family. They're trying to get out of Afghanistan to get here to the United States. He's been working tirelessly around the hour, around the days here, the weeks of trying to get his family out of Afghanistan into the United States. And we're responsible for this. This is our responsibility. Are we able to evacuate the entire country? Is the right thing to do to send the military in there to stabilize this country? Is that the right thing to do? Or how many people are we going to evacuate? Is this possible to evacuate so many people in such a short amount of time? Should we send a couple of divisions to Afghanistan to stabilize this country and bring it back to some type of stability? Because we are responsible for this. This is embarrassing. Maria says, this is embarrassing and ashamed of the actions of our leaders as a retiree and to have seen firsthand the loyalty to the U.S. of these interpreters. These interpreters have put their life on the line for us to help us out to do the work that we need to get done. They put their family lives on the line. And now we have abandoned them. We've left them and just walked away. This is a failure of our leadership. And this needs to be fixed immediately. Immediately. And so we have on Skype, we have Hash, and he's telling us about his family. And Hash is saying his family's tried to go to the airport. They've tried to get out of the country, don't have the right documentation. They don't have a visa to get out of the country, to leave, so they're unable to get out. He's a citizen. He's a U.S. citizen. Go ahead, Hash.
They do have the proper documents. They have everything, like whatever was issued. They just don't have like the U.S. passport and the green card. That's all they don't have. But they do have every other documents that was issued from the U.S. Embassy that they can make it through, and they are eligible. Okay. So
they just don't have the visa to make it out.
They just don't have the passport and the green card.
Okay. All right. So, and you said your daughter is there and she's going in and out of consciousness. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
My daughter, actually, my wife and my 4 children. So my daughter, like, I brought in an example of my daughter because she's like 3 years old. Okay. Without water, like they're all without water, but she's like 3 years old. Like, how can she handle like living without water for like a couple days? But even though we did our best to see if we can, provide some water, but some soldiers out there, the Marine guys, they did their best to provide water for them. And then after all that struggle, they got into the terminal, close to the terminal to get ready to go to the plane to fly. That's where they got turned back home. They were like, "Hey, go home."
Now, Hash, tell me, what do you think we can do? What can we do to help you out?
So there are a couple things. First, we need a good plan, which means that there are people that are actually in to see if we can provide them with water and food, because there are children and women, and the wait time is way too long. That's not like a day, 2, 3. That's like at least 4 or 5 days just to get to the airport. So first, they don't have water, they don't have food, people that are in, and we need to get those people out of there, people that are in the airport, expedite the process, get them out, and then release the gate, by making sure that everyone had the proper documents, get them in and get them out. That's the process. Like, the wait time we need to work on which we should expedite. But most importantly, people that are in, actually, they don't have water and food. They can wait for a couple of days. That's fine, as long as they have the food and water.
All right, so hopefully we could get some major news outlets to talk about your story, your family, I'm trying to get some people to reach out to you this week to see if we can bring light to what's going on with your family. Maybe we can reach the U.S. government in D.C., and get you guys some help. Because, like I said, this is our responsibility. Some people feel like this is not our responsibility. Cameron says evacuate our people. Yes, Cameron says establish stability. No, that's a fool's errand. What do you think, Zach? What do you think?
I think you're right.
We're responsible for this. This is our fault.
Uh-huh.
We never should have gone into this country in the first place.
Yeah, this is something that George W. gave to us, right?
Yeah.
And then Obama.
This is our mess. We made it. We need to fix it.
Then Trump. Now Biden.
Right.
But if the mission was
Decades.
If the mission was to kill Bin Laden, then he's dead allegedly. So let's go.
Yeah.
A decade overdue.
And now we've left people. We're leaving people to fend for themselves. This is our responsibility. We did not have a clear exit strategy at all. We bailed out. Didn't provide air support whatsoever. To make sure that the military that was there was able to hold up, against the force that was attacking them, because for soldiers, U.S. soldiers, when you're faced with a situation where you're under attack, you can actually call in an airstrike. But if you pull those resources back, now, they can't call in an airstrike because we pull those sources out now. So, and Hash, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And I hope that we can, reach out to some people and get you guys some help. I'm going to share your information with some people that I know, and hopefully they'll reach out to you tomorrow, later on this week to, hopefully get your family out of there. And I want you to stand strong and hang in there because you're an awesome guy. And I know you've been working around the clock, try to help your family.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
No, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you for being an interpreter for the United States. Thank you for working with the United States Army. And thank you for keeping our soldiers safe. And we're going to try to keep your family safe.
And very last thing I want to say is that coming to the U.S., becoming a U.S. citizen, I was believing that Joe Biden will help me and my family to get them over here. I voted for him. I believe that. And now, since they sent my family back home, I'm about to lose my hope and say to say maybe I regret that I voted for him because my family is my first. I want my family here for the service that I did. I even lost a member of my family in the service for the U.S. for this great country, America. So. Please help evacuate those people from there. They did serve this country from the bottom of their heart, and they do have the proper documentations. As soon as possible. That's all I want.
All right. Thank you, Hash. Appreciate you, and we're going to pray for you and your family.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for coming on the show. All right, so I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about. Guess what we're going to talk about now. I want to change gears. I want to talk about guns and more guns.
Shocker.
Yes, that's what I want to do. I want to talk about a story that you brought to me, the rare breed triggers. And there's a video, there's a statement by Rare Breed Triggers. They released a statement on August the 19th, in response to the ATF. Take a listen to this. All right. In a second, we're going to pull that video up. And we'll probably pull that up when we come back from the break is what we'll do. We'll have that video ready for you because I want you guys to listen to the statement of the company because they were served with a
cease and desist order from the ATF.
Get a little closer.
They were served with a cease and desist from the ATF on July 26th.
All right, so a cease and desist letter. And so the ATF is like, hey, stop what you're doing. What you're doing is illegal. And if you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to do something to you, basically, which had no teeth.
Had no teeth. They immediately, first of all, they're owned by a lawyer. So they immediately fired back that the definition of machine gun is not met by anything that the trigger performs, and that they have 4 expert witnesses who used to be high brass with the ATF that the ATF has used as expert witnesses in their own cases that they're now going to use against the ATF. So it's about to get spicy.
All right, this is going to get good. You brought some toys with you.
I did.
You brought some stuff with you that I've never seen.
And it's going to be interesting for radio.
And for me to say I haven't seen something, that's a big deal. I'm telling you right now. Because I was like, what is that? How does that work? For me to say what is that and how does that work, that says a statement there. So you brought some stuff, and I love toys. I love to play. This is man time here. This is alpha dog time.
The theater to the mind will
That's
have
right.
to be used for the radio audience.
Yeah. No, because we're gonna. Yeah, that's right. Radio audience, you're not gonna see this, but the people on Facebook and the people that look at it on the website.
Yeah, we're gonna have to describe this in detail to them, like
Right.
a Amazon unboxing.
Right.
I'm just like,
So here's
with words.
a camera-sized package that brings a
look closer to the mic.
Yeah,
real
Travis
close.
just opened the
camera-sized
camera
package
bag here.
that brings forth a package of an AR delight in a small package,
Oh,
and you're able to assemble AR firepower.
oh,
And
Quickly, he did that
Rather
in
quickly.
less than 10 seconds.
that's
Wow.
right. It's a fantastic truck gun.
oh my goodness! Look at this. Oh, nice.
And
All right, so what
when
caliber?
you shoot this gun,
That's a
you
5.56
can do nothing.
weapon.
You can't not smile.
All right, so
Right.
tell me what caliber this is.
That is 5.56.
Okay, so this is a 5.56,
Mhm.
and this is considered a pistol,
It's an
Okay.
AR pistol.
AR
AR
pistol.
pistol. All right, so it's a Saint AR pistol,
Correct.
Saint Edge.
and what describe the stock that's on this.
Oh, that's called the Law Tactical, and that is a folding stock, which allows even greater packaging. So when you want something to be compact, you're able to set it aside and use it as a truck gun.
And this is not what I was talking about. What I didn't know what it was. We'll show you that
No,
when we come
that's
back
coming.
from the break. But and then describe this the sight that's on here.
Oh, that's just a simple AR Vortex. It's a Spitfire. It gives you a one-time magnification. This is so that you're able to have just a little bit of a great etched reticle optic when you're in close quarters.
Nice. And so this is what I should use inside the home to defend my house because it's nice and short. I don't have to expose the majority of my body to stop a threat, and I can have an extended magazine. I could put a 30-round magazine. I could put a drum on this, right?
You can.
Do you have a drum you put on it?
I do not, but it runs well enough. It has one of those mythical triggers within it. So
Oh my goodness, this is beautiful. We're talking dirty right now. We come back from the break. We're going to talk about some of those other toys that he's brought into the studio. Going to show you some things. Going to talk about those. We may even take this sucker apart, try to clean it, become one with it. My precious. This is my precious. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coleon Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And you know, that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about guns now. We're talking about triggers. We're talking about, and Zach, what are we talking about, Zach?
Rare breed triggers?
Rare breed triggers. Thank you, Zach. I got to have you say it because I'll mess it up.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know about these until Travis brought them to me, basically.
Yeah. I've heard of rare breed triggers. I've never dealt with them, but I have heard of them. I think I've heard of just about all the triggers, and I may have even seen a bunch of them, just didn't pay any attention to it at all. But listen to this statement from one of the representatives of Rare Breed Triggers about what happened with their company and the ATF.
Hi, I'm Lawrence DeMonico, president of Rare Breed Firearms and our sister company, Rare Breed Triggers. By now, I would imagine many of you are aware of the situation that we are currently dealing with. But whether you are or aren't, I'm going to start at the beginning and bring everyone up to speed on the situation. And for those of you who just want to help and would rather not watch this entire video, please visit rarebreedtriggers.com to learn how to help. On July 27th, Craig Sayer, the special agent in charge of the Tampa Field Office of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, accompanied by a government attorney, personally served Rare Breed Triggers owner and attorney with a cease and desist letter informing us that our trigger, the FRT-15, had been determined to be a machine gun by the ATF. The letter stated that we needed to immediately cease and desist the manufacture and sale of the FRT-15, and that we needed to contact the ATF within 5 days to discuss a plan to address the FRTs that have already been distributed. The directives laid out in the cease and desist were based on an alleged examination performed by the ATF finding that the FRT-15 had been properly classified as a machine gun as defined by the National Firearms Act. I say alleged examination because no copy of the examination was provided with the cease and desist. And during the conversation that followed, not only did Special Agent Sayer admit he had not actually seen a copy of the examination, but in addition, Special Agent Sayer stated that he hadn't even seen an actual sample of the FRT-15 trigger. Contrary to the findings in their alleged examination, the fact of the matter is that the FRT does not, cannot, and will not fire more than one round by a single function of the trigger, period. That's important to note because that is probably the most pertinent portion of the definition of a machine gun as defined by the Gun Control Act and the National Firearms Act. Despite this fact, along with the absolute lack of any evidence or strict proof to support the ATF's claim, we immediately responded to their cease and desist to inform them that we did not agree with their claim, we would not be complying with their demands, and followed up by filing a lawsuit in the United States Federal Court for the Middle District of Florida. So one might reasonably ask how we could be so confident in our opinion of the facts and be so brazen in our noncompliance. In order to explain, I'd like to go back and talk about the early stages of the FRT. Before ever bringing the FRT to market, we did a tremendous amount of due diligence to ensure it was a perfectly legal semi-automatic trigger. Not only did we consult numerous attorneys, but we also sought out the most well-known and well-respected subject matter experts in the entire firearms community to provide us with their expert legal opinion on the FRT. To ensure we were thorough, we didn't just settle for one or two experts. We sought the legal opinion of 4 subject matter experts. The first expert was Kevin P. McCann, Esquire. Mr. McCann is a practicing attorney and is a former ATF resident agent in charge who retired from the ATF with 25 years of service. The second expert was Daniel O'Kelly, the director of the International Firearms Specialist Academy in Dallas, Texas. Mr. O'Kelly is also a former senior special agent and the chief firearms technology instructor at the ATF National Academy, where he wrote and co-wrote the entire firearms technology course of study used to train agents and investigators on, among other things, what is and is not a machine gun as defined by federal law. The third expert was Rick Vasquez, another former ATF special agent and former acting chief of the Firearms Technology Branch, where he served as the ATF's expert on all Gun Control Act and National Firearms Act identification and classifications. And for those of you that don't know, it is the ATF's Firearms Technology Branch that actually does the assessment on items like the FRT-15 and makes the determination on whether or not it is a machine gun per definitions in the Gun Control Act and the National Firearms Act. The fourth expert was Brian Lutke, the president of Firearms Training and Interstate Nexus Consulting in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Mr. Lutke is also a former ATF special agent, having served 22 years with the ATF. During that time, he served as an instructor at the ATF National Academy, where he taught the application of the Gun Control Act and the National Firearms Act identification and classifications. And in his last position with the ATF, Mr. Lutke served as the chief of the Advanced Firearms and Interstate Nexus Branch, a sub-branch of the Firearms and Ammunition Technology Branch. All four of these experts separately concluded that the FRT-15 is not a machine gun. Now, numerous people have asked why we did not seek an opinion letter from the ATF before going to the market. And the simple answer is, as we had already done our own due diligence by consulting with these four experts, all who determined the FRT-15 to be a perfectly legal semi-automatic trigger, it was unnecessary to seek the approval of the ATF, as semi-automatic triggers are not a regulated item. And before anyone makes the assertion that we simply shopped around and cherry-picked for experts that would agree with our own opinion, I'd like to remind everyone that these are these same experts that had testified on behalf of the DOJ and ATF in countless cases and criminal prosecutions as to what does and does not constitute a machine gun under federal law. So simply put, these aren't our experts. These gentlemen are the experts. As a result of the conclusive and absolute findings of these experts, we are confident that every action we have taken is legal and within the boundaries of the law. As a result, in the lawsuit we filed in the United States Federal Court for the Middle District of Florida, Orlando Division, we are asking the court to halt the ATF from 1, forcing Rare Breed Triggers to cease operations, 2, seizing any property or records from Rare Breed Triggers, and 3, seizing any property currently possessed by the customers of Rare Breed Triggers. In addition, we are asking the court to rule that 1, the ATF's conclusion that the FRT constitutes a machine gun is without authority and contrary to the language of the statute. And 2, their claim that the FRT is a machine gun is arbitrary, capricious, an abuse of discretion, and otherwise not in accordance with the law. Further, we have asked the court to rule that the ATF's attempt to redefine the definition of machine gun to reach the FRT, 1, is in excess of the agency's statutory jurisdiction and authority and is short of the agency's statutory right. And 2, that their arbitrary and capricious attempt to redefine the definition of a machine gun to reach the FRT will also prohibit the ownership, possession, and use of firearm accessories that are not prohibited by the relevant statutes. Of course, now that the ATF has finally produced the alleged examination report, we will be adding to our complaint the specific elements of why and how the exam is without merit. Now, I would like to specifically address everyone that is currently concerned about owning or possessing an FRT-15. There have been a handful of gun tubers and other henny pennies that have been screaming that the sky is falling, and everyone that currently possesses an FRT-15 has become a felon overnight. While some of that is purely clickbait, many others are simply misinformed. No one has committed a felony or become a felon yet by simply owning an FRT-15. Just because the ATF has determined the FRT-15 to be a machine gun doesn't make it so. I'd like to point out that the only entity that's been served with the cease and desist is Rare Breed Triggers. That specific cease and desist has zero relevance to anyone that may have purchased and currently possesses an FRT-15. And now that we filed a suit against the ATF, DOJ, and Attorney General, all parties involved must go through the motions and the litigation must play out before an actual legal ruling is made on the classification of the FRT-15. Not until such time can the ATF address the FRTs that are currently in circulation. While the ATF is certainly attempting to turn you into a felon, they would have to first charge, prosecute, and convict you of having a machine gun before succeeding in that endeavor. And while we're on the topic, I'd like to mention that to date, there has not been one single person prosecuted and convicted for having a bump stock. As we all should remember, it was another arbitrary reinterpretation of the law that allowed the ATF to reclassify the bump stock as a machine gun. And while they may have reclassified it as a machine gun, we all know that the bump stock doesn't actually meet the legal definition of a machine gun. I make this point because there's only been one person to date that's actually been charged with having a bump stock, but that case was quickly dropped after the individual's defense attorney received an expert legal opinion letter from Rick Vasquez stating that the bump stock is not a machine gun. And keep in mind, Rick Vasquez is one of the same experts who has also already gone on the record stating that the FRT-15 is not a machine gun. Now, any reasonable person would conclude that the case was dropped because the prosecutor knew he couldn't win the case. Simply put, a prosecutor would have to convince a jury that a bump stock actually meets the legal definition of a machine gun without allowing for any reinterpretation. And of course, we all know that isn't possible. Based on the ATF's recent erratic and capricious behavior, we felt there was a high likelihood that the ATF would come knocking. And of course, it's not because we've done anything wrong. In fact, we couldn't have been and still cannot be any more confident in the experts' analysis that the FRT is a perfectly legal semi-automatic trigger. But with the current political climate in our country, being right and following the letter of the law sadly doesn't seem to matter to half the country these days. As you've seen over the past few years, we've started down a slippery slope where unelected officials working in executive agencies have been allowed to create and enforce legislation that doesn't exist. From the CDC and their recommendations/mandates to the ATF in our particular case, unelected officials in these executive agencies are consistently sidestepping Congress and implementing legislation without any legal authority to do so by reinterpreting the law to fit their need in any particular situation they desire.
This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs, but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights, and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent, and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, we're back. We're talking about rare breed triggers. And so Travis was saying during the break that there's similar triggers. There's another trigger that's similar to the rare breed, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right, so a little close to the mic. So tell me, about these two triggers.
Well, there's one called the TACON 3, which came out several years ago, and it actually has a letter from the ATF saying that it complies with the NFA and that it's not an NFA item. But it achieves a very similar rate of fire, and it actually has a select switch on it, which is not on the FRT. And they're very similar, conceptually the same. They're just engineered a little bit different, with the FRT having a more efficient design. And so basically, the FRT is being accused of being a victim of its success by the ATF.
Right, and so, but then we've been in situations where you can have a bump stock, you can have something else, and the ATF says, okay, well, this is illegal, the bump stock, but then this over here, is actually, one thing is legal, another thing is illegal. We've been in that situation before.
Well, the bump stock had a letter originally, didn't they?
Right.
I believe they did, yeah.
It did, yeah, absolutely. And so you're saying the rare breed did not. So the rare breed did not have a letter,
Right. But a semi-automatic trigger is not required to have a letter.
right? So and I think they have a good leg to stand on when it comes to this, because it's not a machine gun. It does not turn a rifle into a machine gun. You have to pull it. You have to pull the trigger each time for it to fire a round. Is that correct?
That's correct. One round, one round per pull.
So they're just, I don't know, they're being hyperbolic. I don't know if they're just being, aggressive. I don't know if they're just being,
Well, they're
bullies.
overstepping their bounds.
Yeah. They basically saw that it achieves a high rate of fire, that people were having fun with it on YouTube, and somebody got their panties in the water over that and said, I got to come down on that.
Yeah, we really got to stop, getting online and social media and videos ourselves, showing videos ourselves.
Honestly, it was
having
actually
fun.
divulged. I don't know if you were aware of it, but it was actually divulged how the ATF came across this. One of their agents was browsing 4chan, which is a website on the internet, which I recommend no one goes to, because it's kind of like a E-bombs world and the dark dwellings of depraved things online.
Oh, do tell. We like dark and depraved.
But they have
The internet is full of neat stuff.
But they have a gun. They have a gun section, and apparently it led him to Recoil.com or Recoil magazine. I forget which they're called. Had a write up about them and a video of them, and that made the ATF agent go, "Wait, that's a machine gun. It looks like a machine gun." And he called it into the tech office, and the tech office couldn't get a hold of a sample, so they actually got on Gunbroker and bought one, so they could get a hold of one, because they were sold out on the Rare Breed website.
Yeah, supply and demand, buddy.
Right. And when he set it up in his gun, they apparently preemptively before they even studied the actual trigger, they decided that it was a machine gun rhetorically, and then declared it one after they went through the motions of actually looking at the mechanics of it. And then they called the Tampa office, because that was in Florida where Rare Breed is located, and they had a letter written and delivered.
Okay. Now you brought some other toys into the studio.
I did.
And now this right here, man, what is this? This is what I was talking about. I've never seen before.
Well, courtesy of the Rare Breed trigger, it's a very inspirational thing. I built a belt-fed AR, so it can achieve, a higher rate of fire.
Okay.
In a semi-automatic platform, and because of that, it's able to accept what's colloquially known as a nutsack, which is on a squad automatic weapon, a saw, which is what the United States Army uses, and you're allowed to use the same equipment that'll fit into the mag well and allow you to feed a belt into your gun.
Got it. Okay. All right. And so, how does this work? Well, first, tell us about the firearm that you have.
Sure. Well, the beauty of this particular firearm is that it's dual feed, so it accepts both magazines and belts. You can do either or.
Let me touch it. Let me be one with it. Yeah, there we go.
It's heavy for an AR, but
it is very heavy.
But it's light for a belt-fed weapon.
Okay. And so, tell us about it.
Well, it weighs about 9.5 pounds. It has an upper that is equipped so that you can feed a belt into it that are linked with M27 disintegrating belt links, which are exactly what grunts use in the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heck of a hog killer. So.
And what caliber is it?
It's chambered in 5.56 NATO.
5.56. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It likes 62 grain green tip.
You're gonna have to. You're definitely gonna have to have like some type of sling for this. This is heavy.
It is, but it helps keep it stable with the rate of fire.
Right. Yeah, but I need a sling, because I'm not gonna be able to. I can do this from a vehicle. That's fine because I can put it down. I'm not gonna be able to walk across. Do a road march with it.
Yeah, no, sir. Although it is half the weight of a saw. Ironically, it's a civilian build that is half the weight of a saw. Performs a similar function.
Right. And so, why'd you pick this one particularly? Have you gone hog hunting?
Well, I'm still fine tuning the weapon, but yeah, that is the plan. It is this particular build was inspired because that is the best civilian belt-fed upper that one can purchase, and works within the AR platform so that you can use magazines, keep it lightweight, and have just an absolute blast with it.
And so it goes.
Yep, you can go ahead and feed it in like a magazine.
Okay, like so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I get it, and then
yeah.
you feed it here.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Oh, nice. Oh my God, this brings back. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. Ooh, boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The radio audience is riveted, but yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. Nice. Oh, this is beautiful.
Yep.
Wow.
You're able to feed the belt into the tray, clamp it back down.
Yeah. I wouldn't play around with the green tips though.
Oh, it requires them.
Really?
It likes that extra pressure.
It'll malfunction with anything else?
Yeah, until you break it in. It's the opposite of an AK in that it's engineered with such tight.
I wouldn't want to practice with them though. That. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's an outdoor weapon. It's not
I have thousands of rounds of green tips, and I don't
right.
I'd like to save those for something special.
Right. Well, this I understand, but you get to make hogs into pork mist with them. So
Wow, this is cool.
Yes,
guys,
sir.
check this out. I mean, if you're looking on the video here, this is really neat.
So it uses some of the gas pressure, or is it piston order to
it's a
strip
piston,
the links off?
It's piston driven, but it has 3 different gas ports.
And so this goes on top. This goes this way.
No, sir.
Here.
Yeah, you would
feed it.
Feed it there,
and then bring it down.
Yep.
Okay.
So one of the gas ports.
Right here, there's an adjustable gas port on the piston right there, and then you can put it to the setting that's appropriate to adverse conditions or what have you.
So it needs a lot of gas and pressure in order to actuate all this going on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it has the bolt carrier has to cycle quickly enough to keep up with the rapid fire and put the bullet back in the battery.
Yeah, not only is the bolt carrier having to move, but it's having to strip the links each time, right?
Yep, which requires about 7 pounds of force unto itself, and
Oh.
so you have to have a lot of energy behind it. The way these triggers work is by manipulating kinetic energy as opposed to
And so what type of trigger is on here?
that is the rare breed.
This is the rare breed
That
trigger.
is the rare breed, and the way those triggers work is by the way that they use energy as opposed to when you have an actual auto sear, as the ATF would claim this to be. It's purely a mechanical function.
Yeah.
This does not achieve a high rate of fire via mechanical function. It achieves a high rate of fire via the way that it allows the bolt carry energy to reset the trigger and keep functioning that way.
Oh man, I got a man crush on you right now.
No.
I don't even know what to do. Okay, nice, very nice. I'm glad. Actually, sorry I missed going to the range this morning.
Well, there'll be other times.
Yeah, I missed that. The sun rising, Sunday morning services. I love praising the Lord and pass the ammunition. Doing a little prayer before we shoot, and then firing off a couple rounds. I definitely missed that. That's a nice firearm there.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
you got to pull out some more toys for us. All right, so we're talking with Travis. Travis, brought some toys into the studio here. We're talking about the rare breed trigger. Is that the only one you have a rare breed trigger on?
No.
He says that. He's like, no, because this must be your trigger of choice.
For the AR platform, it's pretty much the most fun you can have.
Why this one? Why not something else?
The rare breed trigger?
Yeah.
Because it is a trigger that allows you to pretty much maximize your Second Amendment rights in a semi-automatic platform.
Absolutely maximize it. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it.
Why? I'm going to push you on that.
Because your rate of fire is not restricted by the NFA. It allows you to show that bureaucrats can do anything that they want to do to try and limit the capabilities of Second Amendment advocates and gun owners. But the fact of the matter is that we will always have evolving technology in the firearms industry, and semi-automatic weapons are always going to evolve, whether they go from muskets to AR-15s, and trigger technology is going to evolve with it. And the fact of the matter is that semi-automatic triggers can achieve a high rate of fire without being automatic weapons in the 21st century, and that really, really bothers the ATF.
All right, so we have a rural sheriff in Illinois who has quit his job after 34 years because of it's just impossible for him to do his job there as a sheriff. Also, Chicago, juveniles arrested for carjackings has nearly doubled in 2021. Crime is on the rise in all of our major cities around the country in 2021. It's so high. Here in Austin, Texas, we've increased our crime so much. We're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle and they are not in contact with your vehicle and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief that there was an immediate threat of harm that would justify an act.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about triggers today. Now the next up on the deck is going to be the binary trigger.
Ooh,
and
that's a beautiful one right there.
This is good. Yeah, this is a beautiful. Yeah, this is something that I would wear, that I would use if I'm wearing a suit.
That's amazing.
You know?
Look how short it is.
Yeah. So if I was like I was a level 4 security and I was wearing a suit, this is what I would carry. A level 4 Secret Service. Perfect. It's nice and short. And
what is that? 18 inches long?
I honestly don't know. Whatever the legal limit is, the barrel's 5.5.
Yeah, we're not gonna say. All right,
but it's a pistol, so it can be as short as you want it.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, you on this one right here, you actually have a binary trigger.
That's correct.
All right. Tell us about the binary trigger.
The binary triggers.
Because I'm surprised that the ATF did not come after binary triggers first.
Right. They're an older
first.
Sure. Yeah. They're an older trigger than the rare breed, and they function legally. To the chagrin of the ATF, probably, because the way the NFA law is written, you're allowed to, per function of the trigger, you're allowed to fire one bullet. Well, the way these work is that when you fire when you pull the trigger, you release one bullet. When you let go of the trigger, you release a follow-up shot, effectively creating a double tap per trigger pull, which allows you to fire very, very fast if you're able to finesse the trigger correctly. And that it's surprising that hasn't been more controversial with the ATF, especially in light of them going after bump stocks and force reset triggers.
Yeah, love this sucker. What do you think, Zach?
You put that inside your jacket.
Why do you like Saints so much?
They make great pistols that aren't on the AR platform. They make great pistols.
What about a Daniel Defense?
They're great, but the thing about them is that they're a lot of money.
Overpriced.
They're overpriced for a lot of mil-spec options, whereas something like the Springfield Armory has kind of a policy of good, better, best, and this is the Saint Edge line, which is their best. So this was made in concert with Maxim Defense. It's almost like getting a less expensive Maxim Defense.
Correct.
But with the modifications I've put on it, and because of the gun scare that's been going on for 18 months plus now, these guns are selling online for like $3,000. That's not how much I paid, but that's what people are doing.
Yeah, gun broker. Yeah, but if you're a little patient, and you just you get it the regular way, walk to the gun store, you'll get it at a regular price.
But nobody's had it in a year.
Yeah, because they go really quick. Supply and demand. And what do you think? Which one you want?
I like that rare breed trigger the best. That first one he pulled out
Yeah.
that came out in the camera bag.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in a camera bag.
Now I think this is going to be my favorite here.
Put it in a camera bag, Michael.
Yeah.
It shoots way faster than this one.
But I got to unfold it. I got to put the barrel in.
Yeah, 5 seconds.
Yeah. Nah, this is ready to go right now.
You can keep the other one
I can
built,
pop.
too.
I can pop a cap immediately with this one.
Oh, you can pop 20 caps on the other one immediately.
No, this is faster.
It is a good looking gun.
Yeah, much faster.
And it's tiny.
Well, you couldn't put the rare breed in this gun because of the way that the buffer tube's configured. It has to have a proprietary buffer tube, and that won't work since the rare breed's made to design with a regular buffer tube and H3, which an actual automatic trigger wouldn't do. It wouldn't require, that. Otherwise, a rare breed trigger acts like a bolt action gun because it doesn't have enough energy. That's another.
So if you could, you would have a rare breed in there.
I don't know, but I don't have that option.
If you did have the option.
I have it elsewhere, and I'm content with that.
All right, so Illinois sheriff quits after 34 years. Man, this guy's been working on a job for 34 years. He says, you know what? I'm done. A recently enacted criminal justice overhaul in Illinois has led to an exodus of sheriffs, and among them is Scott Harvell, the Union County Sheriff in the southern tip of the state. Harvell leads a typical small rural sheriff office with about 10 sworn deputies, each stretched thin to cope with the mounting, methamphetamine, related drug offenses and mental health cases that plague rural towns. Now, resources are far scarcer in rural counties than they are in big urban areas, and everyone wears they pretty much wear a dozen hats there, to get the job done. It's a difficult job. The police in those areas, but instead of offering more support and resources, Illinois lawmakers continue to approve laws that make the job even more difficult. And so this guy says, hey, after 34 years, I'm done. I quit. I'm out. Peace. Again, in Chicago, and I want to thank, I want to thank my listeners for sending these stories to me via snail mail. We get these into the office, and I really appreciate that because I actually do read this stuff. And it's, everyone, I forget to bring it to the studio, and I want to make sure I cover this stuff because this is really good news for you guys. Chicago juveniles have been arrested for carjacking nearly doubled in 2021. So the number of juveniles arrested for carjackings during the first half of 2021 in Chicago, once again, I want to say has doubled, according to the police arrest records obtained by the Epic Times. Now, during the first half of 2021, 91 juveniles aged 17 and under, according to Illinois law, were arrested for carjackings. For the same time last year, the number was about half, at 46. According to the arrest records, 9 out of 10 carjackers are black teenagers, mostly from the south and west side of Chicago. Among the juvenile carjackers arrested in 2021, 70% allegedly threatened the car owners at gunpoint, which is a Class X felony for Illinois. The most serious felony category short of first-degree murder under Illinois law. In other cases, they threatened car owners with their fists, which could also be deadly force. And on July 14th, a 17-year-old juvenile at 18-year-old Frank Harris allegedly struck 73-year-old Keith Cooper in the head in an attempted carjacking. Cooper died soon after. The juveniles were arrested the day after, and the crime in charge with the first-degree murder. So, and this is the same story in all of our major cities around the country, where crime is actually increasing. We've seen this here in Austin, where homicides have actually increased. And I want to say it's almost to the point in Austin, Texas, where the percentage of homicides have increased more so in Austin than almost any other city in the nation. We're almost there, and that's sad. And, we've just passed the halfway mark, for this year. And so we're going to see what happens. Are we going to pass, 2019, 2018, 2017? It's getting pretty bad. The crime rises, and so narratives are built and explanations are multiplying here. How can Jennifer Psaki and her Democratic acolytes in the media, whose predetermined narrative should spoon feed to them every day, get away with such shameless lie as claiming that it was really the Republicans who wanted to defund the police. That is a question absolutely nobody is asking. Everybody knows that there is no longer any room in the media for a real voice of dissent from the Democrats' revolutionary project, which depends upon blaming Republicans or Donald Trump for everything that's wrong with the United States. We got to get away from pointing fingers at each other. We got to figure out how to solve some of these problems. And I suggest you take your own personal safety in your own hands and defend yourself, because you're not going to be able to wait on the government to come and save you. Now, the big thing I want to talk about, before we get off the air here, is President Joe Biden has banned Russian ammo amid continuing shortage. All right, so this is breaking news. This happened late on August the 20th, where the Biden administration has banned Russian ammunition. And so if you're that type of person where you're looking for that Russian ammo, like Barnall, any of that Russian ammo, guess what? It has been banned. So you're going to see, and we're already in the point where it's already hard to get ammunition as it is right now. And so with the administration banning, ammunition coming from Russia, which at times that was the only ammo that we can actually get our hands on, then guess what? Now the price of ammunition is going to go even higher and through the roof, because now they've started banning it. This is the latest sanctions that are expected to take place on or about September the 7th, 2021, and will remain in place for a minimum of 12 months. After 12 months, the executive branch, the president, can remove the sanctions if Russia meets certain obligations under the CBW Act. While not a total surprise, this will still have an overall negative effect on the unstable ammunition market. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.